My name is Alina Ware. I used to think I understood what betrayal looked like. I thought it was obvious, loud, exposed, undeniable. But I was wrong. Some betrayals don't come with warning signs. They don't happen in the open for the world to see. They hide in the quiet moments, in blurred boundaries, in relationships that feel safe, until they aren't. I never thought of myself as a victim. I wasn't naive. I wasn't reckless. I wasn't the kind of girl who ignored red flags. And yet, here I am, staring at my reflection, unable to recognize the person looking back at me. Something happened. Something I can't quite put into words. Because words make things real. And if it's real, then what does that make me? I didn't fight. I didn't scream. I didn't run. So does that mean it wasn't wrong? The people I trust keep telling me that what happened to me wasn't okay. But the voice in my own head won't stop whispering a different story, one of doubt, of shame, of a question I can't seem to escape. Was it really my fault? This is my story. But it could be anyone's. Before I go any further, I need you to understand something. This isn't easy for me to say. It's not easy for me to even admit to myself. This story contains moments of manipulation, blurred consent, and emotional distress. If you've been through something like this, if you've ever questioned your own pain, know this: your feelings are valid. You are not alone. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. I don't remember the first time I met Tadeo Clark. He was just always there. A presence in the background of my life. Someone I trusted without question. I was 15 when I first started noticing him. Not in the way you notice a stranger, but in the way you notice someone who's always been there, only now, something about them feels different. Tadeo was 25 then. Older. Confidence. The kind of person who walked into a room and owned it without even trying. And me? I was just a kid. At least, that's what I was supposed to be. But he never treated me like a kid. Looking back now, I see all the little things I ignored. The small red flags that should have meant something. But at the time, they felt harmless. Because I was too young to know better. I remember the way his eyes would linger on me just a little too long. The way his compliments always felt more personal than casual. The way he always seemed to say exactly what I needed to hear. And I liked it. Of course, I did. Who wouldn't? He made me feel seen. Special. Like I wasn't just Bear's best friend, I was someone worth noticing. And maybe that's why I never questioned it. Because when you're young, attention feels like affection. It feels like something you should be grateful for. Even when it's coming from someone who should know better. When Bear's parents announced they were leaving town for the weekend, it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't the first time. Their house had always been the spot. The place where people could come and go, where the music was always playing, where rules felt more like suggestions. And that night was supposed to be like any other. Friends. Music. Drinks. Just another night that would blur into 100 others. But Tadeo was there. And tonight, he was different. It wasn't anything obvious. Not at first. It was in the way he stood closer than he needed to. The way his hand would brush against mine and stay there just a second too long. It was in the way his voice dropped lower when he spoke to me, like we had some unspoken secret between us. And maybe we did. I told myself it was nothing. I told myself I was imagining it. But when I caught him watching me across the room, when he didn't look away, when he smiled like he knew something I didn't. I felt it. That feeling in my stomach. That warning in the back of my mind that I couldn't quite put into words. Something about this felt off. The air in the house has changed. The warmth from earlier in the night has faded, leaving behind something quieter, heavier. The music still hums in the background, but it feels distant now, like it belongs to another moment, one I'm no longer part of. People have disappeared. Some left. Some slipped into other rooms. Bear is asleep on the couch, his breathing slow and steady, completely unaware of what's happening just a few feet away. And somehow, it's just me and Tadeo. I don't remember when it happened, when the house emptied, when the space between us shrank. But now, it's all I can feel. I tell myself it's fine. That it's nothing. That I've known Tadeo forever, that this is just another harmless conversation at the end of the night. Then he speaks. I've wanted this since the day we met. The words land heavily between us. For a second, I don't react. My brain stalls, trying to process what he just said. Since the day we met. I was 15. He was 25. A strange sensation spreads through my body, shock, confusion, something else I can't quite place. I laugh, but it's forced. Awkward. A reflex, because I don't know what else to do. But when I look at him, his expression doesn't change. He isn't joking. The cold weight in my stomach deepens. I should say something. I should get up. I should put distance between us. But I don't. And then, he kisses me. It happens so fast, I barely have time to react. His lips press against mine, his hands rest lightly on my waist. And for a moment, just a fleeting, fractured second, I kiss him back. Because this is Tadeo. The same Tadeo who always made me feel special. The one who looked at me like I mattered. The one I once thought, maybe, I wanted. But the moment doesn't feel the way I thought it would. There's no rush of excitement. No spark. No feeling of something finally falling into place. There is only the weight of it. Something deep in my chest tightens, an instinct I can't ignore. I pull away. My breath is uneven. My hands tremble. Tadeo doesn't move back. He watches me carefully, his gaze steady. Come on, Alina. Just this once. My throat feels tight. My pulse pounds in my ears. No. It's fine, I promise. No. I want this. Don't you? I shake my head, my voice quieter now. No. But he doesn't stop. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't force me. But he doesn't stop. The words keep coming. The space between us keeps shrinking. My mind is racing, searching for an escape, but my body feels heavy. I freeze. I stop saying no. I stop resisting. I let it happen. And in that moment, something inside me disappears. Something I can't name. When the world feels different, but no one else notices. Morning comes too quickly. The sunlight filters through the curtains, casting long streaks of light across the floor. It should feel warm, welcoming. Instead, it feels invasive, like it's exposing something I don't want to see. I feel off. My body is sore, my head is heavy, but that isn't what unsettles me. It's the feeling in my chest, the hollow ache that wasn't there before. For a few seconds, I keep my eyes closed, trying to trick myself into believing nothing has changed. But I know better. I hear voices from the other room, Bear's laugh, loud and careless, and Tadeo's voice, smooth, effortless. Like nothing happened. Like nothing changed. I force myself to sit up, my stomach twisting as the events of last night come rushing back. Tadeo. His hands. His voice. The way I froze. The way I let it happen. I take a slow breath, pressing my fingers to my temples. It was just one night. It's fine. It has to be fine. I pull on my hoodie, trying to shake the feeling creeping up my spine, and step out of the room. The smell of coffee lingers in the air. The kitchen is filled with the sounds of movement, Bear rummaging through cabinets, Tadeo leaning against the counter, phone in hand. Everything is normal. Everything except me. Tadeo glances up when I walk in. His expression doesn't change. No hesitation. No tension. No sign that last night even crossed his mind. His lips curve into an easy smile. Morning, he says. Morning. Like I'm just another person in the house. Like I wasn't in his arms last night. Like he wasn't whispering those words to me. Bear turns, grinning, completely oblivious. You look like hell, Alina. Rough night? Rough night. The words sit heavy in my chest. I don't know how to respond. Tadeo laughs, shaking his head. She's fine. Just needs coffee. I look at him, waiting, searching, for something. Acknowledgement. A flicker of discomfort. Anything. But there's nothing. Nothing in his voice. Nothing in his face. He's already moved on. The realization settles over me, slow and suffocating. It didn't mean anything to him. But it meant everything to me. I feel my stomach turn, the coffee in my hand suddenly too warm, too bitter. The conversation continues around me, light and easy. Tadeo jokes. Bear laughs. And I sit there, silent, wondering how I ever thought I knew him at all. 5. The guilt that shouldn't be there, minutes 25 to 30. I don't tell Chloe right away. I don't know how to. All day, I go through the motions, smiling when I need to, answering texts, pretending everything inside me isn't unraveling. But by evening, the secret feels too heavy, pressing down on me, crushing me from the inside. So I call her. Chloe picks up on the first ring, her voice light, teasing. What's up? You sound weird. I hesitate. The words clog my throat, thick and heavy. Something happened last night. With Tadeo. There's a pause. Then, her voice changes, her tone sharper. What do you mean? I swallow hard. My fingers grip the edge of my blanket as I force myself to say it. I tell her about the party. How everyone slowly disappeared, leaving just the two of us. How Tadeo kissed me. How I said no. How he kept asking. How I froze. When I finish, silence stretches between us. Then Chloe's voice comes, low and angry. Alina, that was not okay. I shift on my bed, pressing my nails into my palm. But I let it happen. No, you didn't. I didn't stop him. You shouldn't have had to. I kissed him first. That doesn't matter. You said no. That's not consent. Her words slice through me, cutting through the fog in my brain. I know she's right. But the guilt is still there, clinging to me like a second skin. Because deep down, I'm not sure I deserve to call it what it was. The reality I'm not ready for. The clinic is too bright. Too sterile. Too quiet. I sit in the waiting room, arms wrapped around myself, watching the second hand on the clock crawl forward. The nurse calls my name and I stand, my legs stiff and unsteady beneath me. Inside the exam room, she asks routine questions first, name, birth date, medical history. Then her voice softens. What brings you in today? My throat tightens. I force the words out. Unprotected sex. I need to get tested. She nods, typing something into the computer. She asks if I want to talk to a counselor. I shake my head. She asks if I feel safe. I don't answer right away. Because the truth is, I don't know. The tests are invasive. Cold instruments, latex gloves, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. I stare at the ceiling, trying to detach myself from my own body. It's over in minutes, but it feels like hours. When it's done, the nurse hands me a pamphlet. Resources. Support groups. A number I can call. I take it, but I know I won't use it. Because that would mean admitting what happened. And if I say it out loud, it becomes real. The next 2 days pass in a fog. I replay the night over and over in my mind, dissecting every second, searching for anything that will make it make sense. Finally, I do the thing I swore I wouldn't do. I text him. Do you feel guilty? I stare at my phone, my heart pounding, waiting for the typing bubble to appear. When his response comes, it's short. You didn't stop me. I read it 3 times, my stomach twisting. Then another message comes through. It was just one night. Don't overthink it. I feel like I'm sinking. That's when I understand. It was never about me. It was about power. About what he could take. Just because no one was watching. The secret that feels like a betrayal. Bear still doesn't know. And I don't know if I'll ever tell him. I've imagined it 100 times, how I would say it, how he would react. I picture us sitting in his car, the way we always do when we have real conversations. I imagine staring at my hands, feeling my pulse race as I force the words out. Bear, something happened with Tadeo. I imagine the way his face would change. How the confusion would settle first, then the disbelief. I imagine his first response, because I already know what it would be. What do you mean? And I'd have to explain it. I'd have to say it all out loud. And even as I play it over in my mind, I already know how it ends. Not the way I want it to. Not with understanding. Not with outrage. Not with him standing by my side. But with questions. With doubt. With the slow, inevitable moment where he starts to wonder if maybe, just maybe, he should believe Tadeo instead. Because Bear trusts him. Blindly. Tadeo has been in his life since before I ever was. He's family. And no matter how much Bear cares about me, I know that will always matter more. I wish that realization didn't hurt so much. But it does. So I don't tell him. And maybe that makes me a coward. Maybe it makes me weak. Maybe it makes me just as bad as the people who stay silent when they should speak. But I can't do it. I can't risk losing Bear. Because if I do, then I really will have lost everything. So I keep the secret. And every time I see them together, laughing, talking, existing like nothing happened, I feel it. The weight of it. The silence of it. The way it burns inside me like a wound that won't close. A betrayal that no one knows exists. No one but me. The hardest lesson of all. I stand in front of the mirror, staring at my reflection. It's just me. Same eyes. Same face. Same body. But I don't feel like myself. I feel like a version of me that I don't fully recognize. A version that carries something heavier, something invisible but impossible to ignore. I press my fingers against the sink, gripping the cold ceramic like it might anchor me. I take a slow breath. And then another. I don't know why I feel guilty. I don't know why, even now, there's still a part of me that wonders if I should have done something differently. If I should have fought harder. If I should have screamed. If I should have walked away before any of it ever happened. But I also know this, none of that would have changed what he did. None of that would have made him listen. Because the truth is, it was never about what I did or didn't do. It was about him. His choices. His actions. His ability to take something from me simply because he could. And for the first time, I start to understand that. Really understand it. I lift my head, looking myself in the eyes. I say the words I should have believed all along. It wasn't my fault. The weight in my chest loosens, just a little, just enough. Because maybe this is what healing looks like. Not a clean break. Not a perfect moment of closure. But a slow unraveling of the lies I've told myself. A quiet decision to stop carrying shame that was never mine to hold. A choice to keep moving forward even if I'm still learning how. Because I'm not the only one. How many other girls have felt like this? How many secrets have stayed buried simply because we're too afraid to say them out loud? How many times has someone ignored a no, convincing themselves it never mattered? I let out a slow breath. I don't have all the answers. But I know this, I am not alone. And neither are you.